The rain fell in sheets, soaking the streets of Briarwood and turning the asphalt into a dark mirror, reflecting the flashes of lightning overhead. In the middle of the chaos stood Ben Ritter, a once celebrated high school football star, now reduced to cleaning the bleachers of the very stadium where he had once basked in glory. Ben squinted against the downpour as he methodically wiped away the remnants of last Friday night's game. The faint smell of old popcorn and spilled soda lingered in the air, mingling with the petrichor that seemed to rise up from the soaked ground like a forgotten memory. The scoreboard, which had once boasted his name in bright lights, flickered ominously, reminding him of the past he'd rather forget. "Hey, Romeo, find any lost loves in those bleachers?" A voice called from the entrance, breaking through the rhythm of the rain. It was Paul, his childhood friend and the self-proclaimed comedian of their group, half shielding himself from the storm with a well-worn hoodie. "Only the love of my life, football," Ben replied bitterly, tossing a damp rag onto the last row of seats. "And I think it's about to file for divorce." Paul stepped closer, shaking off droplets like a wet dog. "Come on, man. It's not all bad. At least you're not washing dishes at the diner." "True, but at least the diner has food," Ben muttered, tossing his rag into a bucket filled with murky water. "I'm just saying, life has a way of kicking you while you're down, and I'm still trying to get up." "You sound like one of those motivational posters," Paul said, nudging Ben with his elbow. "Look, I know you've had a rough go since the accident, but it's been over a year. Maybe it's time to stop sulking and start living again." Ben shot Paul a sidelong glance, his hands clenching around the bucket handle. "You really think I can just pick up where I left off? I was supposed to be the star quarterback, not the janitor." Paul sighed, his face softening. "Yeah, but you were also the guy who started a riot at the homecoming game for missing a touchdown. Remember how you rallied the team after that? You got back up, even then?" The memory hung in the air, a fragile reminder of who Ben used to be. The crowd had cheered, the scent of burnt hot dogs and popcorn swirling around like confetti as he'd led his team in a heroic comeback against their rivals. He had been unstoppable. But that was before the accident, before the leg, before the dreams had slipped through his fingers like sand. "Look, I'm not asking you to be Superman overnight," Paul continued as the rain began to ease to a drizzle. "Just think about it. The season's starting soon, and Coach is looking for volunteers. Maybe you could help with some training sessions, or even get back into the game." Ben scoffed at the idea. "Help with training? Sure, right after I grow a new leg." Paul rolled his eyes. "Dude, it's not the end of the world. You still have a chance. Just call Coach or something. Show him you're still in this." Ben met his friend's gaze, the flicker of hope battling against the weight of despair that had settled in his chest. "I'll think about it," he said, not fully committing. As the rain finally tapered off, Ben trudged home, the slick roads reflecting glimmers of neon signs from shops that seemed to mock him with their vibrant life. He passed by Dusty's diner, where the scent of greasy fries wafted through the air like an irresistible siren. He couldn't help but pause, watching the laughter of kids at the counter, the yellow light spilling out into the evening gloom. That night, he lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling and replaying the moments of glory in his mind, the cheers and adulation of the crowd echoing like a distant song. He remembered the camaraderie, the thrill of the game, the rush of making that winning touchdown. But every time he felt the spark of inspiration, it was followed by the crushing weight of reality. His leg, the accident, the loss. A week passed, and Ben found himself back at the stadium, staring at the empty field. The sun hung low, casting long shadows across the turf as he envisioned himself running again, a fleeting thought that made his heart race despite the pain gnawing at his spirit. "Hey, Ben," Coach Thompson's voice broke through his reverie, pulling him back to the present. The man strode across the field, his weathered face breaking into a smile. "Good to see you here. Been a while." Ben shrugged, trying to mask his uncertainty. "Just thought I'd check in." The coach nodded, a knowing look in his eyes. "I've seen a lot of kids come and go, but you—" He paused, looking Ben over thoughtfully. "You've got something special. You're not done yet." "I don't know, Coach. I mean, what can I even contribute?" Ben said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Leadership, Coach replied confidently, the warmth of his tone wrapping around Ben like a blanket. You've got experience. You've faced the tough stuff. The team needs someone who knows how to rally them when the going gets tough. Ben hesitated, absorbing the weight of those words. The thought of stepping back onto the field, of feeling the grass beneath his feet, ignited a flicker of something deep within him, a breath of life. Okay, I'll help, he finally said. The next week, Ben found himself at the first practice of the season. The sun beat down and the scent of fresh-cut grass filled the air, mingling with the sweat of eager young athletes. As he stood on the sidelines, a mix of nerves and excitement thrummed through him. All right, team, Coach Thompson shouted, clapping his hands. Let's show Ben what we've got. Every throw, every sprint, every cheer from the players made something inside Ben stir. He remembered why he loved this game. As the practices progressed, he found himself increasingly immersed in the energy of the team. He began to coach them, sharing techniques and strategies he had learned throughout his own career, his voice rising above the chaos, their trust in him tangible. Days turned into weeks, and Ben's heart began to mend. The camaraderie he once cherished returned, now echoing through the laughter and shouts of the team. They were not just his players, they were his second chance. Then came the first game. The stadium was packed, the air thick with anticipation and the scent of grilled meats wafting from the vendors. Ben stood on the sidelines, heart racing, his fingers tingling with nervous energy as he watched his team take the field. The bright lights illuminated faces filled with determination, and for the first time in a long while, he felt alive. The game started strong, but the opposing team quickly took the lead. Anxiety twisted in Ben's gut as he watched his team struggle. He could see panic creeping into their game, fear of failure hanging heavy in the air. "Come on, guys," he shouted, willing them to regain their focus. "Remember what we practiced? Play for each other." His words rang out over the cacophony of the crowd, and he saw a flicker of recognition in their eyes. Slowly, they began to shift. With each play that followed, they fought back, inching closer to the scoreboard, and the atmosphere crackled with renewed energy. As the clock ticked down, the score was tied. The tension was palpable. With seconds remaining, the opposing team had possession, and it looked dire. "Ben," Coach Thompson shouted as he turned to him, eyes wide with concern. "What do we do?" "Trust the defense," Ben replied, confidence surging. "They need to dig deep. They've got this." The defense fortified their ranks, and as the opposing team launched their final play, it was Ben's voice that rang out, urging them on. The crowd erupted as their defense held firm, intercepting the pass and turning the tide. The roar of victory surged through the stadium like a tidal wave, and in that moment, Ben felt a pulse of life flow back into him. As the players celebrated, he rushed onto the field, lost in a whirlwind of joy. The cheers echoed in his ears, and he felt the familiar rush of being a part of something larger than himself. He was no longer just a spectator in his own life. He had reclaimed his place. Later that evening, as the team celebrated their victory at Dusty's Diner, Ben looked around at the laughter and joy surrounding him. The warmth of friendship enveloped him, and he felt a deep sense of belonging. He raised a glass of soda with a smile, his heart full. "Here's to comebacks," he declared. And the cheers that followed felt like home. In the midst of the laughter and the chatter, Ben realized he had not only rediscovered his love for the game, but had also found a part of himself he thought was lost forever. In the shadows of defeat, he had forged a path back into the light, and this time he intended to stay.